Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/thenerdcore. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Hello, nerds. You're listening to an episode on the Nerdcore podcast feed. If you're feeling generous, please consider pledging to a tier on our Patreon at patreon.com/thenerdcore. We have tiers as low as $1 per month. Thanks so much, and enjoy the episode.
Episode of Unstructured with YoungYoda. This is episode 14. In this, we will be diving into American folklore. That's right. We're going to be talking about the one and only Pecos Bill. So without any further ado, let's get into it. You can go find most of these readings that I'll be talking about at legendsofamerica.com and americanfolklore.net. So just kind of a shout out. Thank you all for the topics. Thank you for giving me something to read and talk about today. Growing out of the imagination of the Southwestern cowboys during America's westward expansion, Pecos Bill personifies the frontier virtues of courage, strength, and humor. The mythical folk hero first written about in 1917 by Edward O'Reilly is said to have been based on tales told by range hands at the end of a long day of tending cattle, as in the same spirit of other big characters like Paul Bunyan or John Henry. O'Reilly would publish these writings in the 1923 book Saga of Pecos Bill. Personifying the frontier spirit of the American West, the legendary man displayed superhuman feats that grew with each telling as more writers would add their own embellishments in later writings. Old Bill even made it to the big screen in Disney movies, including 1995's Tall Tale with Patrick Swayze, which, as a kid, I loved. Not only did you get Pecos Bill, but you also got Paul Bunyan, and you got John Henry. Three amazing beings. Anyways, continuing on. As legend goes, born in the 1830s, Pecos Bill was the youngest of 18 children of a Texas pioneer and was so tough even as a baby, they used a bowie knife as a teething ring and made wild animals his playmates as a toddler. When the boy was very young, he fell out of his parents' wagon as they were crossing the Pecos River and was swept away by the current. Rescued by coyotes, the boy was raised by the wild animals. Years later, when he was found by his brother living with the coyotes, his sibling had to convince him that he wasn't a coyote himself. When Bill returned to civilization, he became an excellent cowhand, credited with inventing the branding iron, the lasso, cowboy songs to soothe the cattle, and many other tips and tricks. He also appeared in other tales as a railroad man, a buffalo hunter, and an oil field worker. Bigger than his work ethic and skills were the tales of phenomenal feats, such as riding a cyclone, roping an entire herd at one time, using a rattlesnake as a whip, and harnessing the Rio Grande River to water his ranch. He was so tough that he often rode a mountain lion rather than his favorite horse, the Widowmaker, whose favorite food was dynamite. That's right, dynamite. Explosive. Somewhere along the line, old Pecos Bill met and courted a woman named Slewfoot Sue, who he found riding down the Rio Grande River on a catfish as large as a whale. During their courtship, Pecos Bill did his legendary best to impress her by shooting out all the stars from the sky except one, the Lone Star. Ba-dum-ts. He wins her over, but Slewfoot insists on riding Widowmaker, who didn't like the fact that he had to compete with her for Bill's attention. Widowmaker bounces her so hard she keeps bouncing to the moon. Depends on the story you're reading as to whether Slewfoot Sue ever stopped bouncing. Wow. When your horse loves you more than your wife. Anyways, there are many more tall tales of Pecos Bill, including one version of his ultimate demise. And I'll save that one for later. Let's go into some stories before I tell you how old Bill died, which is pretty entertaining. Let's go to his most famous, Pecos Bill rides tornado. And I might go and speak this into a little southern draw, so I hope y'all don't mind. A Kansas Tall Tale, retold by S.E. Schlosser. Now, everyone in the West knows that Pecos Bill could ride anything. No bronco could throw him, no sir. Fact is, I only heard Bill getting thrown once in his whole career as a cowboy. Yep, it was that time he was up Kansas way and decided to ride him a tornado. Now, Bill wasn't going to ride just any tornado. No, ma'am. He went for the biggest gog darn tornado you ever saw. It was turning sky black and green and roaring so loud it woke up the farmers all over China. Well, Bill just grabbed that there tornado, pushed it to the ground, jumped on his back. The tornado whipped and whirled sideline and gently cussed his bad luck all the way down to Texas. Tied the rivers in knots, flattened all the forests so bad they had to rename one place the Stake Plains. But Bill just rode along all calm night, giving an occasional jab with spurs. Finally, the tornado decided it wasn't getting this cowboy off his back nohow, so it headed west to California and just rained itself out. Made so much water washed out the Grand Canyon. That tornado was down to practically nothing when Bill finally fell off. He hit the ground so hard it sank below sea level. Folks call that spot Death Valley. Anyway, that's how rodeo got started. Though most cowboys stick to Broncos these days. Now, let's turn to Pecos Bill and Slewfoot Sue, a Texas tall tale, retold by S.E. Schlosser. Now, Pecos Bill had a way with women. No doubt, he had dozens of wives during his time, but his one true love was Slewfoot Sue. She was his first wife, and she could ride almost as good as Bill himself. Bill first saw Slewfoot Sue riding a catfish down in Rio Grande. She was riding standing up, holding on with only one hand so she could take pot shots at the clouds with her six-shooter. Was making a right pretty pattern, too. Bill just went head over heels for her, proposed on the spot. They was married the next day, too. Sue was dressed in one of them white jobs with large hoops, looked plumb beautiful. Right after they were married, Sue insisted Bill prove how much he loved her by letting her ride his horse, Widowmaker. Bill couldn't talk her out of it, so Sue climbed on that great devil of a horse. Well, Widowmaker bucked like a maniac. Just as you expect, Sue was thrown off, clear up to the clouds. Luckily, she was still wearing her springy hoop. When she hit the ground, she bounced up again. But we all soon realized Sue couldn't stop bouncing. She bounced so high she kept hitting her head on the moon. She was crying and crying buckets of tears and throwing kisses to her new husband. But even he couldn't stop her bouncing. Poor Bill. We waited 3 days and 4 nights. Finally, even Bill realized she was going to starve to death before she stopped bouncing, so he had to shoot her. It was a crying shame. Well, time heals all wounds, and Bill finally got married again and again and again. But I'm telling you, he never felt the same about another woman as he felt for his first wife, the Slewfoot Sue. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Sue. All right, now we're going to go on to Pecos Bill finds a hard outfit, a New Mexico tall tale, retold by S.E. Schlosser. Well, now, Texas just came too tame for Pecos Bill once he killed off all the bad men, so he struck out for New Mexico looking for a hard outfit. He has an old trapper met on the way where he could find a hard outfit, and the trapper corrected Bill to a place where fellas bit nails in half for fun. Sounded like a promising place to Bill, so he set off, but a darn full hoss got his neck broke on the way. Bill found himself afoot. Bill went a walking, and with his saddle on his back, suddenly he came face to face with a rattlesnake, around about 15 feet long, looking for trouble. Now, Bill wanted to be fair to the rattler, so he let it get in a few jabs before he beat the stuffing out of it. Being a kind man, when the snake was beat, he picked it up, wrapped it around his neck, and carried it along with him. They was heading through a narrow canyon when a cougar thought he'd have a bit of fun and jumped them. Bill never turned a hair. He just put his saddle down and then whipped the tarnation out of the cougar. Air flew everywhere, blocking the light, so the jackrabbits thought it was night and went to bed. Finally, the cat was so beat he cried like a lost kid and just licked Bill's hand. So Bill saddles him up, and they tear across them hills like forked lightning. Whenever Bill wanted to calm that cougar down, he just gave him a tap with the rattlesnake. He set at such a pace that they soon owned the hard outfit the trapper told Bill about. Quick as a wink, Bill jumps off the cougar, helps himself some beans and coffee, wipes his mouth with a prickly pear, and turns to look at the toughs sitting around the fire. "Who's boss around here anyhow?" he asked. "I was," said a big mountain of a feller about 7 foot tall and wide, "but you are now, stranger." Damn, Bill. Damn. That's a cold mother. Shut your mouth. All right. So before we get into the death of Pecos Bill, I guess we got to go to the birth. The birth of Pecos Bill, a Texas tall tale, retold by S.E. Schlosser. Well, now, Pecos Bill was born in the usual way to a real nice cowpoke and his wife who were journeying west with their 18 children. Bill's mom knew right from the start that he was something else. He started talking before he was a month old, did his teeth on his pa's bowie knife, and rode his horse just as soon as he learned to sit up on his own. When he started to crawl, Pecos Bill was slid out of the wagon while his mom was cooking supper and wrestled with the bear cubs and other wild animals that roamed prairies. But yep, the whole family was expecting great things of little Bill, until they lost him in the drink. It seems they took the wagons over the Pecos River while Pecos Bill was taking a nap, and he got bounced out of the back and swept downstream before anyone missed him. If he hadn't taught himself to swim right quick, he would have been a goner. Right about that time, Pecos Bill was dying out and trying to get a fix on where he was. I'm sorry, drying out, not dying out. My apologies, Pecos. Mama Coyote came along and decided to adopt the poor waif and raise him with the rest of her pups. So Pecos Bill spent the first 15 years of life running around with the coyote pack, howling the moon, chasing prey across the berries, and having the time of his life. That does sound like the time of his life. Yeehaw. Pecos Bill plumb forgot all about his real family until the day he turned 16 and his older brother came along. He was punching a herd of longhorn cattle and brought them down drink from the Pecos River. Little Cowpoke took one look at Pecos Bill and knew he'd found his long-lost brother. On account of he looked just like their mom who died of a broken heart after they lost little Bill in the river. See here, ain't you Pecos Bill, my little brother? Demanded the Cowpoke of Pecos Bill when he came jumping over a giant log to run about in the field and howl at a full moon. Don't think so, said Pecos Bill. I'm a coyote. Listen to me howl. Pecos Bill let out a horrendous shout, scampered about the fields on all fours. He scared the herd so bad the longhorns almost stampeded. You stop that, Bill's brother shouted after he got the cattle calmed down. And tell me this, how come you ain't got a long bushy tail if you're a coyote? That was a tricky question. Pecos Bill thought about it for a long time. I got fleas, he volunteered. And I howl at the moon. Oh, everybody in Texas has fleas and howls at the moon. They ain't no excuse, said his big brother. You ain't lying. Anyhow, you can walk upright like a normal person you can talk to. That ain't what a coyote does. I guess you're right, said Pecos Bill. Of course I'm right. I'm your big brother, and I ought to know, snapped the cowboy. About time you stopped fooling around on the prairie and became a cowboy like all the rest of us. Well, that made good sense, Pecos Bill. So he bid farewell to the coyote pack and went out west with his brother to learn how to be cowboy. As soon as he learned the ropes, Pecos Bill began to realize that cowboys needed some new tricks to help them cope with them stubborn longhorns. Cowboys kept getting the cows mixed up, which made the owners mad, so Pecos Bill invented the branding iron. So they could put a mark on each cow telling everyone who owned it. Then he noticed that the other cowboys were having trouble making the wilder cows behave. Now, whenever Pecos Bill saw a cow misbehaving, he'd jump on its back around until it had bucked and then kicked himself into behaving better. But their other cowboys weren't so skilled as Bill, so he invented the lasso to help them tame the wild cows. Pecos Bill's brother was right proud of him. Not bad for a kid raised by coyotes, he told his baby brother. Another couple of years, you'd be the toughest cowboy in the world. And he was right. All right, now, since we've heard the birth of Pecos Bill, let's get to the death of Pecos Bill. A New Mexico tall tale, retold by S.E. Schlosser. Now, Pecos Bill didn't live forever. Nope, not even Bill could figure out how to do that. Here's how he died. When Bill was getting on in years, a Boston man came down to New Mexico for a visit. He fancied himself a bit of a cowboy. Got himself one of the mail order suits, don't you know? The one with the lizard skin boots, a shining brass belt buckle, a new pair of blue jeans, and a huge 10-gallon hat with not a speck of dust on it. Well, when Pecos Bill saw him trying to swagger into a bar, he just lay down on the sidewalk and laughed himself to death. Oh, shit. And that, my friends, is the story of Pecos Bill. Again, if you guys want, please go and check out Tall Tale, starring Patrick Swayze, Oliver Platt, and Roger Aaron Brown as Pecos Bill, Paul Bunyan, and John Henry. And just give you the plot of that. And this is from 1995, and it's called Tall Tale. A young boy draws on the inspiration of legendary Western characters to find the strength to fight an evil land baron in the Old West who wants to steal his family's farm and destroy their idyllic community. When Daniel Hackett sees his father Jonas gravely wounded by the villainous Styles, his first urge is for his family to flee the danger and give up their life on a farm which Daniel had come to despise anyway. Going alone to a lake to try to decide what to do, he falls asleep on a boat, wakes to find himself in the Wild West, in the company of such tall tale legends as Pecos Bill, Paul Bunyan, John Henry, and Calamity Jane. Together they battle the same villains Daniel is facing in his real world. And I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember as a child, I remember loving this movie. Watching it, I think I had it on VHS. Yeah, I'm that old. Get over it. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know if Pecos Bill is as relevant anymore as it used to be, but that's why I'm doing a podcast on it. So just to let you know, there is some really cool American folklore out there. Go and read it. John Henry versus the Machine, the Steam Machine. Paul Bunyan and his big blue ox. I mean, just I'll try and gather on some ones that are maybe a little less well known, but I wanted to touch on Pecos Bill just because I think he's a very intriguing character. Because who else would ride a tornado? But with that, let's get into housekeeping. You can find me on Twitter at randomgerm101, but I would much prefer you give a follow to @thenerdcores_, which hosts this show and other great shows such as The Ladies and Nerdcores and Then Parrot Files. Both amazing shows. Please go listen to them. Follow us on Instagram @thenerdcores, and you can find all of this information more at our new website, www.thenerdcores.com, where we post up blogs, pictures, yada, yada, yada. All that good stuff. Go check it out, please. Now, if you'd like to catch these episodes early and some other exclusives, be sure to join our Patreon. With tiers as low as $1, you can get some pretty good stuff. Just go to patreon.com/thenerdcores. And at 100 Patreons, me and Raul will meet and battle to the death. That's right. So be sure to donate your $1 for that. Anyways, be sure to follow our executive producers, Grayson Barker, a.k.a. @WarlordHitman98 on Twitter, and Shane at twitch.tv/SWRWK, or follow his Twitter at SWRWK Twitch. If you'd like to hear more from me, you can find me on the Nerd Cores and the Gamer Cores as co-hosts throughout the week, and the live show, which is back and better than ever. Hopefully we'll get to video game streaming here soon. Haven't really had time. Check out our YouTube, which we've been posting to now regularly, some of our older episodes and even some of these new episodes. So if you like to listen on YouTube, you can do that, or listen wherever you listen to podcasts. So thank you all for listening. Thank you to all those who are just tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please just check out my last episode. I really did enjoy talking about the will of parallel dimensions. I thought that was pretty amazing, that story. Anyways, go check out episode 13, and thank you all. And I guess I got to say, YoungYoda out.